Okay, so I recently just picked up Samsung's newest OLED monitor, the G80SD. It's a 32-inch OLED monitor that is highly rated and it's actually always on sale. I got this monitor in an effort to finally create my all-in-one desk setup where I could game, I could work, and also watch TV whenever I wanted to. But after all the testing I have done over the past few weeks, it's still not the perfect option for my setup. And if you are on Mac as well, you might consider also going with a different option instead. First, let's go over all of the specs of this monitor. It's a 32-inch 4K QD OLED. It's a matte display with up to 240 Hz refresh rate. The response time is also rated to be at 0.03 milliseconds, which is great for all of the sweaty gamers that want the fastest response time. It is also G-Sync compatible and offers a new Samsung technology that's meant to prevent burn-in from happening on the monitor. They call it Safeguard Plus, and it has dynamic cooling and a thermal modulation system, which are all marketing terms to just say that it's a giant heat pipe that should prevent the burn-in in the future. And this next one might actually get a lot of people that aren't really a fan of auto dimming, because this monitor will auto dim after 10 minutes of inactivity. I actually wasn't really bothered by it because it only happens on a static screen and doesn't really dim when you are working on it or watching some content. And you also do have a 3-year warranty that also offers burn-in protection during normal use in case you do need to fall back on that. All of this can be had for $1,300, but in reality, like I said, it's always on sale. So if you watch out for all of those sales, you might actually get it closer to $900. Or if you like being frugal and want to wait even longer, you can probably even get an open box for less than $800. And for that price, you definitely can't go wrong with buying this monitor, as long as you don't need anything with a faster refresh rate. Being a casual gamer myself, I actually can't take full advantage of the refresh rate with my consoles or my Mac. What I do like about this monitor though is that, like others in this 32-inch 4K OLED category, is that the design is sleek and less RGB gamery like. Even the stand that it comes with is versatile and it allows height adjustments, swivel, tilt, and also rotation if you want to use this in vertical mode instead. Putting the stand together is actually really easy in 2 easy steps, and also has some cable management built in to hold all of the cables. One thing I think they could have done better is the port placement, because with the stand on, the cables are actually being stressed to go around the stand into the cable management, which could damage the ports over time. Aside from the stand though, the display itself is sleek, and just like other OLEDs, it's definitely thin. It also doesn't seem like a gaming monitor at first glance, which makes it very usable in a more professional office setting if that's your setup vibe. And if you wanted the RGB setup, you might want to go with a different monitor, or you can also buy RGB lights that you can just stick to the back of this one. Arguably, the biggest design choice that will affect everyone though is going with a matte display over a glossy one. This is actually perfect if you plan to have this monitor in a well-lit room, because it can handle reflections a lot better than a glossy display. I don't really mind the matte texture on the display, but I still would suggest finding a way to not have bright lights like windows or lamps opposite of the display, because the reflections can still kill some of those OLED black scenes. But without the bright lights in the room, the matte versus glossy isn't really that different. They both have great colors, and if the brightness is at similar levels, the colors will pop just the same. And by the way, if you're enjoying the content, let me know by liking this video down below, and if you are loving the content, then consider subscribing for more honest tech reviews. Looking at the connectivity offered by this monitor, you get a total of 6 ports. You get a DisplayPort 1.4, you get 2 HDMI 2.1s, 2 USB-A 3.0s, and a USB port as well. And unfortunately, there is no USB-C port for display and no headphone jack either. This really makes this monitor take a hit in the productivity section that I will be talking about here in a little bit. But with the port selection that you do have, you can take full advantage of any console with the HDMI 2.1 ports, and you can get up to 120 Hz on the PS5. This is especially great for playing first-person shooters, which then allow you to take full advantage of the OLED colors and the faster refresh rate as well. For Nintendo Switch, you can't go wrong hooking it up to this monitor and now having a larger display with those OLED colors for all the games that just pop in color. I unfortunately don't have a PC or a Windows machine to test the connections to the DisplayPort, but using a Mac, the DisplayPort might be the best option. With the DisplayPort, the Samsung monitor will always recognize your Mac as a PC and turn on every time you turn on the Mac as well. You also get full compatibility with up to 4K HDR and variable refresh rate through the Mac settings as well. These settings will only work on the 1080 and 4K resolutions though. Anything in between will drop in refresh rate and also lose out on the HDR. You can also adjust the brightness now through the Mac, which means you get full compatibility through the display port. Through the HDMI port though, you will always have to remind the monitor that you're connecting a PC because it will always default back to not knowing what thing you're connecting. A small disclaimer is that my Mac only has an HDMI 2.0. That could be the reason why the rest of these options aren't working correctly, but right now my Mac can only get up to 60 Hz through the HDMI port. But it does allow me to have HDR though through any of the resolutions, which means I can also adjust the brightness through my Mac or through my keyboard instead. I would suggest getting a DisplayPort to USB-C instead and going with that option because they seem to work best with no extra settings menu on every single startup. So where does this land for gaming? Honestly, this is definitely one of the top options for every gamer out there, console or PC. You get the OLED colors, you get a matte screen, and you get multiple port selections so you can have all of your consoles hooked up. You also get a pretty fast response time with higher refresh rate, and if you're on PC, it can get pretty bright with HDR on as well. And what about for the productivity use? This is where it starts to lack a little bit, especially in compatibility with a MacBook. Most of us Mac users are now used to having a single cable connection to hook up your Mac to an external monitor and charge it as well. Samsung could have really helped out here, including a USB-C port with at least 60 watts of power delivery for any laptop user that might want to use this as a docking station for work or any sort of productivity use. If you're okay with not having a USB-C, you can still get all of the benefits from this monitor, including great text clarity, which is usually not something you regularly see with monitors this size. Just don't expect the clarity on this to be anywhere near a Retina display or a 5K display like my LG Ultrafine that I have. Something that could make up for it though is the fact that on top of gaming and productivity, this monitor is also a smart monitor. You can get all of your apps through the Tizen software. It has Bixby for voice control and a gaming hub if you want to play directly on the monitor instead of through your console. It's basically a smart Samsung TV with all the extra added features, and you also get a separate remote. You can also use split screen if you would like to work and watch something on the side as well. The speakers are pretty good, which would make this a great all-in-one monitor if you can take advantage of all the extra added features. Here's a comparison of the monitor speakers on the Samsung OLED monitor versus my old MR4s that I still have kicking on my desk setup. After all my testing, I definitely cannot take advantage of everything that is packaged into this monitor, which is why this monitor isn't for me. Even with the PS5 Pro that I have coming in, I won't be able to take full advantage of the higher refresh rate on this monitor. And for my Mac, the lack of power delivery is a huge miss, and it's really difficult to go back to anything but a 5K display after using my LG Ultrafine for the past year. I am by no means a competitive gamer anymore, and I mainly play casual single player games, so because of that, I still think that playing on a much larger OLED TV is a better experience for me. What are your thoughts? Will this monitor be enough for you for your gaming needs? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank you guys for watching. Click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will catch you guys in the next one.